Right now, look at your wine glass. That dark red swirl, that little leg it leaves on the side of the glass, that is not new. That liquid in your hand is older than kings, older than pyramids, older than writing itself. And you didn't invent it. No one did. We found it. Because just like with beer, our story with wine doesn't start in a vineyard. It starts 10 million years ago on a rotting forest floor in Africa. In 2014, UC Berkeley biologist Robert Dudley published a book called The Drunken Monkey Hypothesis. The idea is embarrassingly simple. When fruit falls from a tree and sits too long, yeast from the air lands on its skin. The sugar inside breaks down, it ferments, it produces ethanol, and our small primate ancestors ate it. They got a little buzzed, they felt good, and they came back for more. Over millions of years, we didn't just learn to tolerate alcohol, we evolved to hunt for it. Scientists found we have a mutated gene, ADH4, from about 10 million years ago that lets us break down alcohol 40 times faster than before. We were literally built to find the overripe fruit. Birds still do it. Someone in your comments said they saw birds drunk on fermented cherries falling out of a tree. Elephants do it in Africa. It was happening long before we had a name for it, so the craving was already installed. The real question is, when did we stop waiting for nature to do it and start doing it on purpose? For a long time, the answer was Iran. In a Neolithic kitchen at a site called Hajji Firuz Tepe in the Zagros Mountains, archaeologists found 6 jars sunk into the floor. Inside one, chemical analysis in the 90s found something definitive: tartaric acid. That's the fingerprint compound for grape, plus a resin from the terebinth tree. That resin was important. It was their version of a bottle cap. They added it to stop the wine from turning into vinegar. That was intentional winemaking, 5,400 to 5,000 BCE, 7,000 years ago. And this was before that discovery. The oldest confirmed recipe for any kind of alcohol was from the other side of the world, Jiahu, China, 7,000 to 6,600 BCE. Patrick McGovern, the Indiana Jones of ancient alcohol, tested pottery jars there and found a wild cocktail: wild grapes, hawthorn berries, rice, and honey. It wasn't pure wine like we know today. It was like a prehistoric sangria, mead, beer hybrid, but it proves we were already master mixologists 9,000 years ago. But then, in 2017, everything we thought got pushed back even further. About 30 miles south of Tbilisi, Georgia, at 2 small mud brick villages called Gadachrili Gora and Shulaveryskora, archaeologists from the University of Toronto and the Georgian National Museum found fragments of huge clay jars. Some were decorated with little bunches of grapes. Cute, right? But when they ran them through tandem liquid chromatography mass spectrometry, basically the most sensitive chemical test on Earth, they found tartaric, malic, succinic, and citric acid. Wine. Grape wine. Dated to 6,000 to 5,800 BCE, 8,000 years ago. This is now the oldest pure grape wine in the world. And here's why Georgia is so convincing. They haven't stopped. Those ancient jars are called kvery. They're giant egg-shaped clay pots you bury underground up to the neck and let the wine ferment for 6 months. Georgian farmers still make wine in the exact same kvery today. It's UNESCO protected. The wine culture is literally unbroken for 8,000 years. Some of those jars could hold 300 liters. That's 400 bottles of wine today in one jar in a Stone Age house. This wasn't someone experimenting, this was mass production. So we have jars, but when did we get an actual winery, like a place built just to make wine? For that, you have to go to a cave in Armenia, the Arini I cave, 4100 BCE, 6,100 years old. Inside, archaeologists found everything: a shallow basin for stomping grapes with your feet, like Lucy in the chocolate factory, fermentation vats, drinking cups, and dried seeds and skins of Vitis vinifera, the exact same species that makes 99.9% of the world's wine today. The co-director said it would probably taste like an unfiltered Merlot, so warm, gritty, sour Merlot. Remember the comments about 12,900 years of warm beer? Try 8,000 years of warm, chewy wine. But here's the twist, that Armenian winery wasn't for Friday night fun. The cave was also a cemetery. The wine was for funeral rituals, for talking to the dead. And that's where wine splits from beer. Beer was for everyone. In Egypt, pyramid workers were paid 4 to 5 liters of beer a day. It was lunch, paycheck, and medicine. Wine was for the elite. In Egypt, if beer was for the builders, wine was for the pharaohs. They had wine jars with labels that would put a modern vineyard to shame. Labels that said the year, the vineyard, and even the winemaker's name. Tutankhamun was buried with 26 wine jars. For the Greeks, drinking undiluted wine was considered barbaric, something only savages did. They watered it down. The Romans did the opposite and used wine to show off how rich they were. No wonder the Bible says the first thing Noah did after the flood, which, by the way, overlooks this whole region of Georgia and Armenia, was plant a vineyard and get drunk. Even the writers of Genesis knew where there's a new beginning, there's wine. So let's line it up. 10 million years ago, your monkey ancestors get drunk on fallen fruit and evolve to like it. 9,000 years ago, people in China are already blending rice, honey, and grapes into a deliberate cocktail. 8,000 years ago, Georgian farmers are domesticating wild grapes and fermenting pure wine in 300-liter jars in their living rooms. 6,100 years ago, Armenian people build the world's first complete winery in a cave to toast their dead. 5,000 years ago, Egyptians are labeling their vintages. Wine didn't show up after civilization. Like beer, it might be why we wanted civilization, a reason to stay in one place, tend a vine that takes years to fruit, build a kaviri that takes weeks to make, and gather together. Gadachrili Tepe might have been the world's oldest pub, but Gadachrili Gora, that was the world's first wine bar. And every time you pour a glass, you're not just having a drink, you're reciting an 8,000-year-old recipe that started when someone, somewhere, picked up a wrinkly fermented grape and thought, yo, this is kinda nice. I'm Marina. All the research for this is linked below, and if you want part 2 on how wine created kings, the Bible, and the entire French economy, let me know.